All right, all the shims and parts have arrived from Desmo Times, so I'm gonna start trying to put the new shims in, get measurements, and replace some of the half rings in there. I got new half rings, and I also have some of the new bolts for the valve head covers. So be using like the new parts that I have, and yeah, trying to get all of these new shims in there. I have some spares, of course, and I got like some that are half a size bigger, half a size smaller, in case the measurement that I thought I needed just wasn't perfect. So we're going to start with the horizontal head. That's really the only one that we need to dig into for closing shims. Closing shims are the hardest, so I'm going to do those first. So I just need to try and replace the two closing shims on the horizontal head. The vertical head, we just need new opening shims, so that's a blessing. That's really much easier. So I'm going to start taking the rocker arms off, kind of doing what we did before to get access to those closing shims. Just to further explain what I did there, I was rotating the engine, finding the spot where I can move the rocker arm, the opening rocker arm, that way to the left in order to take the top opening shim off. I've done so, and then I just rotated it a bit more the opposite direction, clockwise, to get the valve in a place where, try to show this, where it can be pushed down, and pushed down enough so that when I actually push down on this rocker arm, I can take this closing shim off. You can see the half rings inside there. So what you need to do is push this closing rocker arm down, and then you have to do a few things. Hold the valve stem up so that it doesn't fall down into the chamber, and then while you're pushing this down, push the closing shim right here down as well to expose the half rings. Use the magnetic puller to grab the half rings off, and then the shim should slide out like upwards off of the valve stem. But the valve stem will then have nothing holding it up, so it could fall down to the chamber, which would be really bad. So you need something holding it, which I'm going to figure out the best solution for, because there's a few ways to do it, but we have very limited space here, so we want to do it just whichever way is best for the space allotted. Okay, so the method that Desmo Times says to use is by using these forceps, he calls them, basically like scissors, to grab the valve stem so that it's staying the most upright it can while you are lowering the rocker arm, taking the closer shim off and the collets and all that. So to keep it up so that while you're pushing the rocker arm down, you're not losing that like clearance that you're trying to get, and also to prevent it from falling into the chamber. So I don't really see a good way to use forceps in a place like this, because I can't go that much back, and there's really no way to get at it from the front. I mean, maybe from the side if anything, but that's got to be a really perfectly shaped pair of forceps. So I don't know, it seems like that would be a little hard. I also don't want to put, something like I don't know, like pliers like this that have serrated ends and hold it on the stem very hard, because I don't want to damage the valve stem. So what I'm thinking is of using basically a magnet tool. I'm gonna give this a shot and see if it works. It, will clearly grab the valve stem because it's made of metal and it's magnetic, but I also need this, to get the collets off as I'm taking the closing shim off. So I'm gonna get another one of these and have one person like holding the valve stem, and hopefully it's just a strong enough magnet to do that, to keep it from falling down. And if not, then we're gonna have another problem on our hands, but I'm gonna give that a shot first, and see how it goes. So anyways, while I wait to get another magnet tool, I'm going to start working on the opening shims across the board, since a lot of those need to be changed on the horizontal exhaust side and the vertical intake and exhaust. So start doing that first and then taking some measurements and see where we're at. All right, so we're gonna be working on the vertical intake side opening shim. I already got the rocker arm off and the old shim off. So the old one was a 2.9 and that was not leaving enough of a gap. So we're gonna try 2.85 first and measure, and then 2.8 and just see which one's better. I got both options right here, the 2.85 and 2.8. I'm first going to measure these, make sure that they're what they say they are, you know, with my my calipers. And then once we put it in, we got to get it at top dead center and just do that whole process again to measure properly. So that'll be all in a time lapse, but I'll be doing everything that I just said. So it turns out I actually did my math wrong when ordering for this exact shim. I got two smaller sizes instead of two bigger ones, and I needed two bigger ones. So that's unfortunate, and I didn't even get that size with anything else. So I'll just have to order another one and pay the shipping, but it is what it is. It's my error. So I'm working on, I'll go to the exhaust vertical and do that one now instead. Since, yeah, that one was just wrong. So we've run into a similar issue with the exhaust side, the opening shims that I got. It was a 2.6, although it could have been a 2.55 because the caliper does kind of round up. So it's possible it's a 2.55. So to prevent that, I got a 2.55, 2.50, and 2.45. And the 2.45 only allows a 0.04 millimeter shim, or sorry, feeler gauge through there. So we still have about maybe 0.5 to go. So realistically, I need a 2.4 and a 2.35 to check for sure. And I don't have that. And of course, I didn't buy any that small. So once again, just out of luck. I'm gonna have to order more, but we'll just move on to the next one. You know, it's just unfortunate that both of these were strikeouts, but it is what it is. All right, moving on to the only other opening shim we have to adjust, which is the exhaust side of the horizontal head. The intake side was fine. We don't need to adjust that one. That one was perfect. So just the exhaust. We'll see if that one, if we got the right size for that one. Okay, we have a winner. Finally. So for the horizontal exhaust opening shim, the 2.55 worked beautifully. It was, I tried the 2.5 and the 2.6, and the 2.55 was by far the best. And I was noticing while measuring, like it could be maybe ever so slightly smaller, you know, and I think that's fine. Just as long as you're within spec, which I am in this case, and you know, I tried the 2.55, the 2.5, the 2.6, and the 2.55 fit the best. So that's the one I'm going to go with. If you want to get exact measurements, like to exactly 0.01 millimeters, or is it 0.1 millimeters? Like it says, yeah, if you want to get exactly to 0.1, you can sand shims. I mean, that's one thing that they mention in the Desmo Times book. It's, I don't know, it's not necessarily recommended, I would say, and also it's kind of finicky because once you sand it too far, then you're screwed. So I don't know. I'm not going to bother with that. If you're doing track use with your bike often and it needed to just be exact at 0.1, then yeah, it's probably worth it. But As long as I'm within the 0.1 to 0.15 range, which I am, I'm good. So that was the 2.55. That's a keeper. So now that I got an extra pair of hands with Cindy helping me, I'm gonna try to get access to this closing shim, or take it off rather, on the horizontal intake side. So we're basically going to be, let me show you on the diagram, we're going to be trying to get this all in a position where we have to first get the engine to a position where we can push the piston down, or push the valve down significantly. It's not at top dead center, it's at a different spot, like basically where the valve would be open, so we can push it down, then push the rocker arm down while doing that, pushing the closing shim down and magneting the top of the valve stem to hold it up, exposing the O-ring or the collets, get those off, and then take the shim off. But holding the magnet on the valve stem so it doesn't fall in. And then putting the new collets on and the new shim, and then measuring to see if that's the right fit. So we're going to try to do that and see if it works. It's probably hard to tell from the video, but that was awful. So hard to do, but we finally got both collets off and the shim off. And what we did was try to first get the valve in a position where it goes down, and in that position you can push the closing rocker arm down, grab the collets off, and then the shim wasn't coming off, it was getting stuck on the opening rocker arm just repeatedly. So we had to just basically push everything down to get the shim off, and somehow, by the Lord's grace, the valve just didn't fall in. And then I got it into a place now where it can't. It's just like hitting, I think, either the other valve or something, so it won't fall in. But it is a pain to have to get everything on. So we're just going to try to put the right size back on with new collets and remeasure, and yeah, hope that's good. Okay, so we had a 2.75 on the horizontal intake closing shim. We're gonna put 2 of these new collets, half rings, and a 2.8 instead of the 2.75, because we were looking at about a 0.05 to 0.06 difference. So hopefully we can make up for that and make the gap basically marginal, just so that it moves but less than 0.05, because right now it was at 0.05 or 0.06, so we're trying to get slightly less than that. I'll end that video there for now. Basically, as you'll see if you continue watching through the rest of the series, a lot of the methods and things that I tried to do initially turned out to just be overly difficult or not the best way to do things, and I came to find that out later. So I ran into a lot of snags, especially with the closing shims, and I'll just be highlighting that, all the way through. I figured it'd be, I guess, valuable just to show everything that I learned over the course of, the time doing this, instead of just kind of cutting everything out and just showing the final video of explaining, like, here's the best way to do it. So if you want to skip ahead to the last one, you can, but yeah, I'll just kind of be showing everything that I learned along the way, because in case I want to maybe think back to how I did something and realize why it didn't work out, you know, then it might just be helpful. So yeah, we'll end this one here and kind of start up the next video with some of the things that I learned while trying to get those closing shims on and off.